This week for the Hot Fudge Sunday, we're talking about the concept of hiding and seeking. Not hiding and seeking with friends like the game we played as a child, but what we do with God. How we hide from God in the midst of our everyday lives. We do this by not being direct with God, by not being honest with God, with withholding information. And the thing that cracks me up about it is that we all do this even though we know that God already knows all the answers, that God knows everything anyways. But we still play hide and seek with Him. We talked about during worship the fact that we're not the first people to ever do this. Human beings have been playing hide and seek with God for a very long time. It goes all the way back to creation. There's this story about Adam and Eve, and they were in the Garden of Eden, and everything was wonderful, everything was perfect. And there was one tree in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that God said, "Do not eat of the fruit of that tree." Well, a little bit later on in the story, a serpent comes to Eve and says, "Did God really say that you would die if you ate of the tree of the knowledge, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?" And God did say that you would die, but the serpent was kind of spinning God's words a little bit. And here's the crux where Eve and Adam fell victim to this trap. The serpent said, "God doesn't want you to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because if you do, you will be just like Him. You'll know right from wrong. You'll know good and evil. You'll be just like God." And there was the catch. Because there's something inside of us as human beings that says it would be good to be like God. And so that's what brought Eve to that place where she ate of the fruit, and she gave it to her husband Adam, and he ate of the fruit. And then it says in the story that they heard the sound of God walking in the garden. They didn't wonder what the sound was. They knew what the sound was because they had always walked with God in the garden. So what did they do? The very first game of hide and seek happened. Adam and Eve hid themselves in the bushes because they were naked, they were ashamed, they felt guilt, they knew what they did was wrong. They experienced the knowledge of good and evil, and they realized that they had done evil. And God comes walking in the garden, and God asks this very impactful question, very important question, a huge question. And He asked the question of, "Where are you?" And He wasn't asking where are you, meaning the physical sense of where you are, because of course God knew exactly where they were. But where are you? Like, where is your heart? Where is your mind? Where is your life? And that's our question. But many times we will run from that question. We will hide from God. And we won't want to answer that question. We won't want to deal with it. Well, today we looked at Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, it says, "Don't bargain with God. Be direct. Ask for what you need." And many times we're not direct. We're not very good at direct. Now, some of you watching this are very good at being direct. In fact, to a fault, you're good at being direct. But there's others of us who aren't very good at being direct. You know who we are. You know, we're the people that will go to ask something or to tell a story, and we'll start in North Dakota, and we'll travel to Australia, and then we'll go over to China, and then we'll go up to Alaska, and then finally we'll get to the point. We'll go round and around and around. God is looking for a relationship with people who will be direct and be real. And we talked about this relating to step number 3 in the journey to be. And step number 3 in the journey to be says, "I will make a choice to commit my life and my will to the care and control of Jesus." And in that notion of making that choice to something like this is being direct. It's saying that I realize that I don't have this whole thing figured out and I need help. And we're not good at that. Many times that's exactly why you and I hide, because we don't want to admit that we don't have this all figured out. We don't want to admit that we need help. We don't want to admit that we're not right all the time. We like having things all figured out. We like being right all the time. We like being able to handle everything. But the fact of the matter is that we can't. There's so many things in this life that we need help with. And so we hide from God. Even in plain view, we hide from God because we don't want to admit those things. And that's a big piece of what we were talking about today, about in our personal lives, how we need to stop hiding from God. We need to get real, so to speak. We need to just acknowledge the fact that we need help and to commit ourselves, to make a choice, to want to commit our lives and our will to the care and control of Jesus. And that's a huge step for each one of us. And it's a huge step for us as a church. As a church, as we're taking a look at selling the building and relocating, there's some things that we have to admit to. Some things that we have to acknowledge that we've been hiding from God right out in plain sight. We've been hiding from God merely by surviving as a church for a very long time. Just getting by, keeping the doors open, so to speak. That's a form of hiding. Anytime that we not only run away from something, but we deny it, we just ignore it, we're hiding. We're hiding from it because we've got to acknowledge it. We can't ignore it. We've got to deal with it. But many times we don't want to deal with it because it's tough. And so when we don't deal with it, we are merely just hiding from God. And that was part of the message today, was talking about the fact that we've got to stop hiding from God. We've got to stop playing hide and seek with God, because God's not seeking. He's already found us. He found us in the beginning of time. He found us when he died on the cross as Jesus Christ. He found us the day that we were saved. He's found us. The question is, do we acknowledge it? When we don't acknowledge that finding that God does for us, then we are hiding from God. And there was a perfect example right after church about this kind of hiding. There was a gentleman that came to church, and we'll say that his name is John. John came to church today, and he's been to the church before, only I think one other time, and today he came again. And after the service, he was asking for a prayer for healing. And I said, sure, what are we praying for? What healing? And he said, well, drinking. And I said, okay, you want healing and you want sobriety in your life? He said, yeah. And I said, can you tell me a little bit more? And he said, is drinking vodka wrong? And I said, well, not necessarily is drinking vodka wrong. Drinking a lot of vodka is wrong. Drinking a lot of vodka all the time is wrong. And he said, okay. He said, is drinking vodka in the morning wrong? And I said, well, it depends on the morning. You definitely don't want to make it a habit. And he said, okay, is drinking vodka in the morning in church wrong? And I stopped and I kind of cocked my head and looked at him, and I said, John, what are you talking about? And John was holding a Mountain Dew bottle. And John had vodka in his Mountain Dew bottle. And he had brought it to church, and he was drinking it in church. I looked at him and I said, John, you're an alcoholic. Because there's no other reason why you would bring vodka in a Mountain Dew bottle to a church service. You've got a problem. So he was a perfect example of someone who had been hiding, and right in front of God. He came to God's house with vodka and a Mountain Dew bottle. And he was hiding, and I think that the Holy Spirit kind of got to him, and afterwards he confessed, and he said, is this wrong? And he didn't ask, is it wrong, meaning, please tell me if it's wrong. But he asked if it was wrong because he needed his own sense of wrongness to be validated. Many times we will do that. Many times we'll ask questions about things in our lives, not because we don't know the answer, but because we want to hear the answer from someone else. Because when we hear the answer from someone else, it affirms what we already know. And that affirmation is an acknowledgement. That affirmation is a positive step. And I think that he wanted to hear that. He wanted to hear that he's struggling with alcoholism because he had to bring vodka in a Mountain Dew bottle to a church service. And so he had been hiding in front of God. And I think, hopefully, for the very first time, he came out. He wasn't hiding anymore. Now, time will tell. Will he go to his meetings? Will he get a sponsor? Will he go through the 12 steps? Will he show back up at church again with another Mountain Dew bottle filled with vodka? I don't know. We'll find out. But that's a perfect example of it. And maybe there's something in your life right now where you're hiding in plain view of God. You're doing something, or you're behaving in a certain way that you know is not what God would want you to do, but you're doing it anyways, and you're denying it, or maybe you're rationalizing it. Oh, all you're doing is playing hide and seek with God. And that's not what you should be doing. Playing hide and seek with God is not our goal. It's not our calling for life. It's not why we have life. So I would encourage you to stop hiding and to come out, so to speak. I know it's not a popular thing to say right now politically, but come out of the closet when it comes to your hiding, when it comes to your struggles in your life, the things that you're dealing with. God already knows all about them, so it's time for you to acknowledge them, to stop hiding. That's what we talked about today, and I pray that maybe there was something in this message for you too, watching this video. Watching the video, maybe there's something that you're thinking about that saying, well, mine's not vodka and a Mountain Dew bottle coming to church, but it is fill in the blank. And it's time for you to stop hiding in front of God, in plain sight, because God can see you, just like He saw Adam and Eve when they were hiding in the bushes. God is looking to you and asking the question, where are you? And that's not a physical location. That's a spiritual location. That's a heart location. Where are you? And so I guess that's what we'll leave today. That's the question for this week. Where are you in the midst of this? Don't bargain with God. Be direct. Ask for what you need. You need help with something? Ask. You need healing from something? Ask. You need financial help? Ask. You need relational help? Ask. We go to God and we ask. And in the asking, we stop hiding. Well, I think that's where we'll leave off today. I hope that this week has a great you, and that you will come back again next week to check out our new installment of Hot Fudge Sunday. We'll see you soon.